The wind carried a haunting chill across Salisbury Plain as dawn broke, the horizon bathed in hues of gold and gray. Dr. Alexander Ward stood alone before the towering stones, his breath visible in the crisp air. His voice trembled with conviction as he whispered, "These stones are not silent, they speak of something hidden." He touched the weathered surface of a monolith, its cold texture anchoring his obsession. The quiet of the field amplified the beating of his heart. Alexander's eyes scanned the landscape, every shadow hinting at secrets buried in time. He murmured, "Centuries of scholars searched, but none dared to see beyond the veil." The stones loomed like guardians of forbidden knowledge, daring him to uncover truths locked away. In that moment, his journey began, not with certainty but with hunger for revelation, as the ancient circle awakened his restless determination. Alexander returned to his study, walls stacked with ancient texts and sketches of Stonehenge. Candlelight flickered against parchment as he muttered, "Every theory bends to speculation, yet the truth remains buried." He traced lines across an old map, frustration tightening his jaw. Books spoke of ritual, astronomy, and burial rites, but none explained the impossible feat of moving such colossal stones. He whispered, "How did they bring them here?" His hand clenched the quill until ink blotted the page. He leaned back, eyes heavy with exhaustion, yet his spirit burned with obsession. Shadows played across his face, dancing with doubt and determination. He sighed, "I cannot rest until I see beyond the veil they left behind." Days later, Alexander journeyed into a local archive, its stone walls echoing whispers of forgotten centuries. His boots clicked softly across marble as he scanned dusty shelves. A librarian eyed him curiously as he muttered, "There must be something overlooked." Fingers traced spines of leather-bound tomes, until he found a brittle manuscript. He opened it carefully, the parchment crumbling at edges. Symbols inked in fading script danced before him, shapes resembling the stones themselves. His eyes widened as he whispered, "This speaks of power hidden beneath the earth." His hands trembled, torn between awe and fear. The weight of discovery pressed down as silence wrapped around the chamber. Night fell heavy, and Alexander sat by his fire, flames casting restless shadows. He whispered, "If this manuscript is true, then Stonehenge is more than ritual." His hand tightened around the brittle pages. The fire cracked sharply, as if answering him. He leaned forward, staring into the blaze, images of stones rising from earth, searing his imagination. He whispered, "A hidden purpose, buried deep." His pulse quickened, thoughts racing with possibility and peril. The fire's glow etched determination into his features as he whispered again, "I will not stop, no matter the cost." By dawn, Alexander returned to the plain. Mist veiled the stones once again, but his resolve now burned brighter. He whispered, "The answers lie beneath, not above." He knelt to the earth, pressing his palm against damp grass. The chill bit through his skin, grounding his determination. He looked to the stones, their towering forms solemn in the pale light. His voice broke the silence, "I will uncover what they guard, even if it consumes me." The morning sun rose slowly, gilding Stonehenge with light, as though blessing or warning his quest. Alexander's eyes glimmered with both fear and purpose, the first steps of his journey now irrevocably set. The echo of footsteps filled the vaulted hall of Cambridge University as Dr. Alexander Ward strode toward the office of Professor Marcus Hale. He carried the fragile manuscript under his arm, heart racing with urgency. Hale rose slowly from behind a polished oak desk, his silver hair neatly combed, eyes sharp with calculation. Hale said, "You wander too close to matters best left untouched." Alexander's voice cut firm, "Knowledge belongs to all, not to gatekeepers." A thin smile spread across Hale's lips as he replied, "Truth is dangerous in the wrong hands." The silence thickened, broken only by the ticking of a brass clock. Their standoff marked the first clash of a battle neither man was willing to lose. Marcus moved to the window, shadows crossing his face as sunlight broke through stained glass. He said, "Civilizations rise and fall on secrets like these. Do you think you alone can bear such weight? Alexander clenched the manuscript, his jaw tight with defiance. He answered, I carry no illusion of ease. But silence is the true danger. Marcus's gaze sharpened, his voice low. You mistake curiosity for strength. The room seemed to shrink, air heavy with unspoken warnings. Outside, students' laughter echoed faintly, a stark contrast to the gravity within. In that chamber, two men of intellect locked in an invisible struggle for the future of truth. Later, Alexander sat alone at a pub table in Salisbury, candlelight flickering across his weary face. The echo of Hale's warnings replayed in his mind. A folded letter lay before him, written in Hale's precise hand. It read, Abandon this pursuit before it consumes you. Alexander's fingers tightened around the paper, eyes narrowing. He whispered, Your fear betrays you, Marcus. Around him, laughter and clinking mugs filled the air, yet his world remained tethered to secrets unearthed. He leaned back, shoulders tense, determination hardening in the dim glow. Though isolated, his path had only sharpened, fueled by Hale's attempt to silence him. The following morning, Marcus convened a private meeting in his study with two officials, their voices hushed beneath portraits of long-dead scholars. He spoke firmly, word cannot be allowed to proceed unchecked. His curiosity threatens more than his own fate. One official asked, Do you intend to silence him? Marcus's lips tightened, his tone calm. Persuasion first. Force, if persuasion fails. His words hung like a decree, echoing through the chamber. The men exchanged uneasy glances, yet bowed to his authority. Marcus turned toward the fire, its flames reflecting in his eyes, a man resolved to guard shadows at any cost. Back on Salisbury Plain, Alexander stood among the stones, the manuscript open in his hands. He whispered, They fear the truth because it burns their lies. Wind howled through the circle, tugging at his coat. His eyes traced symbols on the brittle pages, linking them to shadows between the stones. He said, Marcus cannot stop what has already begun. The chill bit at his face, yet his resolve blazed brighter than the cold. Above him, clouds parted briefly, casting a shaft of light across the monument, as though fate itself acknowledged his defiance. In a quiet lecture hall, Emily Carter stood before a blackboard covered in astronomical charts, her chalk pausing midline as Alexander entered. She was known for her sharp mind and sharper caution. Emily said, You should not be here, Dr. Ward. Your presence brings whispers of trouble. Alexander placed the manuscript on her desk, his voice steady. You've studied alignments your whole career. Tell me if these symbols match the stars. Emily's eyes narrowed, hesitation flickering across her face. She traced the faded ink with her fingertip, whispering, These patterns, they mark solstices. But there's more. Silence deepened, heavy with unspoken risk. Emily sat at her desk, fingers brushing across the manuscript while Alexander leaned over her shoulder. She said softly, These alignments point to something buried beneath, not the sky above. Alexander's eyes sharpened, his voice low. Then you see what I see. Emily's lips pressed thin, torn between reason and intrigue. She sighed. Truth rarely comes without sacrifice. I fear what chasing this will demand. Alexander placed a hand against the desk, leaning closer. Fear is the ally of silence. The weight of his words lingered, forcing her to confront her choice. Later that evening, Emily walked with Alexander through the cobbled streets of Salisbury, lamplight glowing against the damp stones. Her voice was hushed. Why risk your life for a secret buried in shadows? Alexander's boots echoed on wet pavement as he answered, Because silence serves only those who profit from ignorance. Emily's gaze softened, but her brow furrowed. She said, And if truth destroys, what little balance remains? He looked up at the moon breaking through clouds, his voice resolute. Then balance was never real. Their steps carried them deeper into uncertain darkness. They stopped at a small inn, its hearth crackling with warmth. Over mugs of steaming tea, Emily leaned closer and whispered, Marcus Hale has influence far beyond the university. He will not let you advance. Alexander's jaw tensed, eyes shadowed by firelight. He answered, Then he knows what I seek is real. Emily looked down, hands wrapped tightly around her mug. She murmured, I swore never to walk this path again. Alexander's tone softened. I don't ask you to walk it, only to help me see where the road begins. Her silence spoke louder than her fears. By dawn, Emily stood with Alexander at the edge of the plain, mist curling around them. Her voice quivered. If I help, it will not be from courage but necessity. Alexander gave a faint nod, eyes locked on the looming stones. He said, sometimes necessity is the only truth we have. Emily's chest rose with a heavy breath, fear and resolve colliding within her. She whispered, then we walk into this together. The rising sun spilled light across the horizon, casting their figures in gold against the ancient monument. A reluctant alliance had begun, fragile yet unbroken. The fog rolled thick over the plain as Alexander and Emily approached the stones at twilight. A shadow emerged from the mist, tall and deliberate. Aidan Cross stepped forward, a stranger whose presence carried weight. His voice was low, calm. You search for truths carved before memory, but are you ready to bear them? Emily's hand gripped her coat tighter, unease flickering in her eyes. Alexander steadied his breath, answering, I came to uncover what others buried in fear. Aidan's lips curved into a faint smile as he replied, then you will need more than courage. You will need to sacrifice what you treasure most. They stood in a silent triangle, mist wrapping around them like a veil. Aidan reached into his coat, pulling a small brass compass with strange markings. He whispered, this was forged for those who dared to walk beneath the earth. Emily frowned, her voice cautious. Why give this to us? Aidan's eyes reflected the faint moonlight, his tone cryptic, because knowledge chooses its bearer, not the other way around. Alexander studied the device, fingers brushing its surface. He said firmly, then it has chosen me. Aidan's gaze sharpened, both warning and approval mingling in his silence. Later, in a candlelit chamber of a deserted chapel near Salisbury, Aidan placed old maps across a cracked wooden table. He said, the stones mark not the sky, but a door. Emily leaned forward, brows furrowed, whispering, a door to what? Aidan's eyes glimmered, his tone steady, to what lies below, a passage forgotten by history. Alexander clenched his jaw, determination hardening. He said, if such a passage exists, then we must find it. Aidan's faint smirk returned as he murmured, find, yes, but survive, that is another matter. The shadows of the chapel flickered with unease. Aidan lit another candle, his voice carrying an almost prophetic calm. Legends speak of guardians who watch beneath the stones. They are not myths but warnings. Emily's breath caught, whispering, guardians? Aidan nodded slowly, eyes fixed on her, not of flesh but of silence. They live in the forgetting of mankind. Alexander's brow furrowed, voice sharp. You speak in riddles. Tell us what we face. Aidan leaned back, expression unreadable. Truth will reveal itself when you descend. Until then, my words are all you can bear. Tension crackled in the dimly lit chamber. By dawn, Aidan vanished, leaving only the compass and maps behind. Emily paced near the stones, voice trembling. We cannot trust him. Alexander's hand tightened around the compass, his tone firm. Trust is irrelevant. What matters is the path he opened. The wind whipped across the plain, rattling the pages of the map. Emily stopped, her voice low. And if that path leads us into ruin? Alexander lifted his gaze to the looming stones, sunlight breaking through heavy clouds. He said, then ruin is where the truth waits. Their eyes locked, bound by doubt and necessity alike. The inn's common room glowed faintly with lantern light as Sophia Reed leaned forward, her voice soft. You chase illusions, Alexander. Secrets are meant to remain untouched. She had been a trusted colleague once, her counsel steady. Alexander's gaze sharpened, replying, and yet you stand here, warning me like Marcus's shadow. Emily shifted uneasily, her suspicion mounting. Sophia's eyes flickered with something hidden as she whispered, not all shadows are enemies, but some truths should never be unearthed. The warmth of the fire could not soften the cold fracture forming in their fragile circle. Later that night, Sophia slipped away into the mist, her cloak trailing behind her. Emily whispered, "She hides more than she tells." Alexander clenched his jaw, muttering, "Then she is no ally but a deceiver." Their voices were swallowed by the night wind. Unbeknownst to them, Sophia's footsteps carried her toward Marcus Hale's shadowed carriage. She spoke softly to the waiting figure. "They suspect nothing. They follow the path you want them to walk." Her words sealed her betrayal, though doubt flickered in her eyes for just a moment. At dawn, Alexander found Michael Grant waiting by the stones, his old friend's face etched with familiar charm. Michael said, "I heard you seek what lies below. Let me help." Alexander's eyes softened for a moment, memories of brotherhood flickering. Emily remained cautious, her voice low. "Trust is thin in shadows like these." Michael's smile carried warmth, but his gaze darted too quickly, betraying unease. Alexander extended a hand reluctantly, muttering, "If you stand with me, stand firm." In the circle of stones, alliances formed not from trust but from desperation. That evening, as maps and notes spread across a wooden table in the inn, Michael leaned in, his voice eager. "The passage lies north. I can lead you there." Emily frowned, suspicion sharp in her eyes. She whispered, "How do you know this?" Michael's tone stumbled before he recovered. "I studied the records years ago." Alexander's face tightened, a crack of doubt flashing across his resolve. The air grew thick with mistrust, the silence between them louder than words. Betrayal lingered unspoken, waiting for its moment to strike. The storm raged outside as Alexander stood at the threshold of discovery. He turned to Michael, voice steady, "If you betray me, it will be the last time we speak." Michael's expression faltered, torn between loyalty and hidden ties. Emily stepped closer, her voice firm. "We cannot afford lies. Not now." The thunder rolled across the plain, echoing their turmoil. Michael's eyes shifted, and in that fleeting glance Alexander saw the truth. Trust had already been broken. The storm outside mirrored the storm within, the circle now fractured by betrayal. The rain drizzled over a small graveyard on the edge of Salisbury. Clara Bennett knelt before a weathered headstone, her hand trembling as she traced the name carved in stone. Alexander approached quietly, his voice low. "You knew him?" Clara's eyes glistened with tears as she whispered, "Daniel was my brother. He vanished the night he searched the stones." Emily stood back, her heart heavy as Clara continued, "The monument didn't just take him. It devoured our family with silence." Alexander's jaw tightened, the mystery suddenly entwined with the family's loss. The past had bled into the present. Inside Clara's modest cottage, the air smelled of damp wood and old parchment. She unwrapped a bundle of letters tied with frayed string. Her voice shook as she said, "Daniel wrote these before he disappeared. He spoke of voices beneath the ground." Emily reached out, fingers brushing the fragile paper. She murmured, "These writings echo the manuscript." Alexander's eyes sharpened, voice steady. "Then Daniel found what we now seek." Clara's lips quivered, whispering, "And it destroyed him." The flickering lantern light revealed the sorrow carved into her every word, binding the group to her grief. They gathered at Stonehenge that night, lanterns cutting through the mist. Clara held one of Daniel's letters close, her voice breaking. He wrote of chanting that rose from beneath the earth. Emily shivered, whispering, "Chanting?" Clara nodded, eyes distant. "He said the stones echoed with it when the moon was high." Alexander's gaze swept across the circle, his voice firm. "Then tonight we listen." The wind pressed against them, heavy with dread. Clara closed her eyes, her grief mingling with fear, as the first hollow sound drifted faintly from below. The chanting grew louder, a rhythm that shook the ground beneath their feet. Clara cried, "It's the same sound he described. It's him, or what remains of him." Emily's voice broke. "Daniel may have been trapped." Alexander's jaw set, his tone sharp. "Then we descend where he once fell." Clara clutched Alexander's arm desperately, tears streaking her face. "No, if you go down you will not return." The stones loomed darker, their shadows stretching long across the plain. The truth had shifted from abstract mystery to a wound that bled into their very souls. Near dawn, Clara collapsed to her knees in the grass, overcome with grief. She sobbed, "Daniel is gone, and now you chase the same fate." Alexander crouched beside her, voice firm but gentle. "Your brother's truth may yet save us." Emily knelt too, her hand resting softly on Clara's shoulder. She whispered, "We carry him with us, whether we choose or not." Clara looked up, eyes hollow yet resolved. "Then do not let him vanish in vain." The rising sun painted the horizon with crimson light, sealing their bond in grief and purpose alike. The storm had passed, leaving the plain shrouded in eerie stillness. Alexander, Emily, and Clara stood at the circle's heart, the compass trembling in his hand. From the shadows, Marcus Hale emerged, his voice cold. "You've walked too far down this road, Ward." Alexander stepped forward, coat whipping in the breeze, answering firmly, "Too far to turn back." Marcus's gaze hardened. "The stones are not monuments but locks, and locks exist for a reason." Emily whispered, "You knew all along." Marcus's lips curled into a grim smile. "Knowledge is not freedom, it is chains." Their final reckoning had begun. Marcus circled the stones with deliberate steps, his voice steady. "Beneath lies power meant to remain buried. Your obsession blinds you." Alexander's grip tightened on the compass, his voice sharp. "No, your fear blinds you." Emily's eyes darted between them, heart pounding as she whispered, "What is beneath?" Marcus's gaze flickered toward the earth, then back to Alexander. "A memory older than civilization, a truth that unravels the world you cling to." Clara's voice cracked. "Daniel found it, didn't he?" Marcus fell silent, and the silence itself confirmed the tragedy. With a sudden crack, the ground trembled, stones vibrating with ancient resonance. The compass glowed brighter, its needle spinning wildly. Alexander shouted, "It calls to us!" Marcus raised his voice above the rumble. "Do not awaken it. The earth cannot bear what sleeps below." Emily clutched Clara's arm, eyes wide in terror. Clara whispered, "It's Daniel's voice. I hear him." The sound rose like a chorus, hollow and unearthly. Alexander's face hardened with determination. He said, "Truth buried in fear is still truth." The air itself seemed to split with their defiance. The earth split open at the center of the circle, revealing a cavernous descent lit by an unnatural glow. Marcus's voice cracked with desperation. "Close it before it consumes us all." Alexander stepped toward the opening, voice steady. "This is what they built to guard, not to worship." Emily shouted, "Alexander, stop!" Clara's tears streamed as she whispered, "Daniel's down there waiting." Marcus lunged, his hand gripping Alexander's arm. Their eyes locked, conviction against fear. The fate of truth balanced on a single breath between them. The glow dimmed, the compass shattered in Alexander's hand, silence flooding the plain. Marcus released his grip, collapsing to his knees, defeated. Clara whispered, "Daniel is gone, but his voice rests." Emily turned to Alexander, eyes searching. Was it worth it? Alexander's face was lined with sorrow and fire. He whispered, "Truth never asks permission. It only demands a price." The stones loomed above them, unchanged yet forever altered. The dawn broke fully, gilding Stonehenge in gold, as the cost of knowledge settled into their souls. The mystery had revealed itself, but none would leave untouched.